Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Make sure you're subscribing. Should I say that word again? Subscribing. Make sure you're subscribing to the Smerconish.com newsletter as well as this YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and also ring the bell. Ring the bell. You've heard me say it. Have you rung the bell? Because then you get the notifications of when we're chatting live on YouTube. Thank you, Steve Cordasco. If you're transitioning to retirement, it's one of the most important financial decisions of your life, and the current financial climate is making many people question if they can still retire on schedule. Call Steve Cordasco. Call John Walker. Call the team at Mercer Advisors. I know all these guys. They're good guys, and they will take great care of you. They can guide you through this important transition in your life and create a tailored financial plan so that you can enjoy your retirement with the comfort and confidence that your hard-earned savings provide for your lifestyle. Don't make this important transition on your own. That's good advice, right? Call Steve Cordasco and the team at Mercer, 855-558-3500. Cordasco Financial Network, that's a trade name. It's owned by Mercer Global Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Securities are offered through Andrew Garand, Inc., not affiliated with Cordasco Financial or Mercer Advisors. Client experiences vary. Successful outcomes are not guaranteed. Time now for the headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter, on this, the day that Tyre Nichols is being laid to rest. The poll question today at Smerconish.com, with that horrific recent incident in mind: should police stop pulling over drivers for technical infractions having nothing to do with safety? Now, need to make clear, yet again, we really don't know the full picture as to why he was pulled over in this instance. You know, we see it in the video. One of the cops talks about him swerving and so forth. If he were swerving, then he should have been pulled over. That's a moving violation. That's not what I'm talking about in the poll question. The poll question was inspired by a USA Today editorial on this subject, where they said Nichols' death is only one in a long series of needless killings of black men stopped for largely minor traffic violations. Victims include Philando Castile, fatally shot outside Minneapolis after a stop for a broken brake light. Yeah, that is the sort of thing I'm talking about. Walter Scott, shot in the back in North Charleston, South Carolina, as he ran from his car after a stop for a broken tail light. Samuel DuBose, shot in the head after being pulled over for a missing tag in Cincinnati. Ending this national disgrace will take serious efforts. But of course, you know, you get cops saying that it's a means of pulling people over about whom they're suspicious, and then the retort is, but were you suspicious because they were black? You know, is it driving while black? I've also said here that in talking in the immediate aftermath about Tyre Nichols, when the video came out, one of my sons said to me, "Dad, why do they even give chase?" Like in a case like that, they had the car was pinned in, he gets out, he runs. Why not figure out who he is, wait it out? Because in that chase, oftentimes bad things happen. Now, if the person running you think poses a risk of serious bodily injury to someone, then you've got to give chase. But now, how would it have played out if no one had run after Tyre Nichols? They have the car. They know who he is. He was running home. He was 100 miles from his house.
100 feet.
100 feet? So 100 feet or 100 miles? Did I say, wait, 100 yards.
Yards.
We were both wrong.
Something.
There we go. Okay. Sorry.
Close.
Sorry.
He was close to his house.
Thank you, TC. It's why you're here, fact-checking every step of the way.
Wow. Can I just say, just a minor, new version, new edge on YouTube?
Yeah.
Not sure.
What do you mean?
Not sure of this angle of me.
All right. Well, people have to live with it a little bit. It could be the hair on the bun.
I don't know.
It could be the hair
in the bun. Is it the hair in the bun? I can take that out. All right.
No.
Okay,
No.
take me out. No? Is it better down?
Okay. TC is going through a wardrobe change and hairstyle change in the midst of the headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter.
I don't know if I like this. Woo, now I'm blushing.
TC, can we get back to work here?
Yeah, sorry.
All right. So the Valerie Borline told me Alec Murdaugh, but I notice in the trial they don't say Alec. But when people correct me, like, why are you calling him Alec? It's because Valerie is in the courtroom and she knows the case cold. Gang, here's the deal. in the afternoons, in the late afternoons in particular, I am monitoring on Court TV the Alec Murdaugh trial. It's amazing. It's an amazing, amazing trial. It really is. And one of the reasons that I'm drawn to it, and of course, he's the South Carolina formerly prominent, now disbarred lawyer who stands accused of having murdered his wife and son. And then you've got the surviving son sitting behind him as if it's a church, and he's still on the side of the groom, not the bride. I mean, it's really, really something. But the lawyering is one of the reasons that I'm drawn to this. And yesterday, there was tape played of an interview that Alec Murdaugh did soon after the discovery of the bodies, 3 days.
3 days after, yeah.
And in going through what had transpired, some are wondering, as they listen to the audio, did he confess to killing his son? Help me set this up, TC.
Yeah, so this is Jim Croft, who's one of the detectives, was interviewing Alec Murdaugh in the back of the car. Alec Murdaugh was crying, was very upset, and Jim Croft is heard in the tape saying it's a tough day, and then Alec Murdaugh says what is in dispute, which is either I did him so bad or they did him so bad. And so the question is, did he just accidentally confess to killing his son and wife or not? In other words, what was said? Jim Croft, the detective, said that he thought then and still thinks now that Alec Murdaugh said I.
Right. Do you hear I?
Right.
Or do you hear they? By the way, from the Post and Courier coverage today, did Alec Murdaugh accidentally confess to brutally murdering his son Paul? Or did a state investigator misunderstand the prominent Hampton attorney's words? That's the question that 12 Colleton County jurors will have to ponder in the coming days as they digest a piece of evidence that came into contention this week at the double murder trial. Are you going to play the audio first, or are you going to play the detective first?
I feel like I should play the audio first, just so we know what we're talking about. Do you agree? Okay.
Yeah. How long of a clip are you about to...
This is very short. So this is just how they introduced it in court and what it sounds like. They also, for interest's sake, this is played as is. They then slowed it down significantly. So I can play both.
Right.
This is very short, under 15 seconds.
I thought I heard I buried Paul when they slowed it down.
We're not joking about this.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, so this is June 10.
Especially because his name is Paul.
June 10, June 10, 2021, with state investigators in a police car?
Yes.
In a police car. Yeah. Alec Murdaugh, whose wife and son are now dead, and he says this.
Let's play it. Please, Doug. Exhibit 243 and evidence. It's tough.
It's just so bad. It's so bad.
See, I thought I just heard they did him so bad.
Okay, listen again.
Okay.
It's just so bad. It's so bad.
I heard I.
You heard I.
That time.
Are you just doing this to be contentious?
I am not. Let's do it. We'll listen one more time in the real time.
Shh.
It's just so bad. It's so bad.
I hear they did him so bad.
Okay, then they slowed it down to a third of the time, so really slow.
Okay.
And sitting here talking today is tough. It's just so bad. It's so bad.
That doesn't help me. Does that help you?
One more time.
It's just so
bad.
They?
I heard I.
They?
I heard I. Right then.
Tomato?
Oh, for God's sakes. So yeah.
Now listen.
So
the reason it's so significant, obviously, is that if it were I did him so bad, then it's an admission. What could he mean with they did him so bad? Well, the defense in this case is to suggest that because of the boating accident for which the son was being held accountable, people were threatening him.
Right.
And they would be the people upset with the son, Paul, about the boating accident. So then comes, are you about to play the cross-examination of
so this
Jeff
is
Croft?
correct.
Because again, here's This is a good example of what I say in terms of good lawyering, and maybe it's not rocket science. Like, what would you do? Good question for the audience.
Yes, ponder.
What would you do when you're defending Alec Murdaugh? The tape has been played, maybe people are hearing, and the detective is saying that he thinks he heard, "I did him so bad." So how do you now cross-examine? This is how you cross-examine.
I did him so bad, rather than they did him so bad?
I'm 100% confident in what I heard and I interpreted him as saying.
But you would agree that this jury can hear the same thing you heard on June the 10th by playing what was captured on the body cam or the recording equipment in Agent Owen's car, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you heard what you said, you're confident what you heard, that he said, "I did him so bad," what'd you do in response to that?
I made a mental note of it. Again, we were still in the early stages of investigation. It was more of an information gathering from Mr. Alec, and we did not have information at that point, to my opinion, to challenge Mr. Alec on any of his statements.
Challenge? Well, you just ask a follow-up question. Wait a minute. What do you mean I did him so bad? I mean, you got to be a good listener, especially if you're a detective, right? So you can cut that. So that was the follow-up question that was then put to Croft. And making a mental note, no,
Wasn't cutting it for you.
that doesn't wash.
Interesting.
That does not wash.
That is really interesting.
You're interviewing a guy whose wife is dead, whose son is dead. I did him so bad. Whoa, what do you mean by that? I did him so bad. I didn't say I did him so bad. I said they did him so bad. Immediately there would have been something back and forth. Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, this case is. I love court TV.
I love
court TV. I love
do.
cameras in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And I continually tell you this, TC. The lawyers are real. In the trenches. They're like. They're like our friend, veteran criminal defense attorney William J. Brennan.
They're doing it.
They're in the trenches, trying cases in courtrooms,
Right.
and they have good insights and expertise.
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting. I don't know what I should take from this or not, that he called him Mr. Alec. It seemed like there was such a familiarity with the family and with that.
Oh,
it's
gosh.
such a huge.
I'm so glad you said this. Because,
to me, that really stood out as something significant.
Well, I want to ask you, as one from the South.
Oh, yes. Miss Teresa.
Right. Is this like a Southern thing?
Yes.
Because as I'm watching, I'm wondering, is it a Southern thing of being dignified and respectful?
Yes.
Or are they showing him too much deference because of his standing then in the community?
Could be both. Could be both. But no, I can hear myself being called Miss Teresa.
Right.
Miss Teresa.
Anyway, it would have made for a great poll question today. What do you hear?
Right.
I or they, but that's the audio and make up your own mind.
12 people matters very much. 12
Absolutely.
people here.
Well, one part of a very complicated picture.
Correct.
One part of a very
it's not
complicated
it's not the smoking gun, but it's definitely something interesting.
important.
Yeah,
but it's important. Yeah, it's important. Poll results from yesterday. Oh my gosh. Yesterday, what a great conversation inspired by Virginia Soul Smith's appearance on the program. Why the new obesity guidelines for kids terrify me. She was here to defend her position that there's too much emphasis among pediatricians and the health community generally about the weight of children. But of course, the weight of children, leads to a lot of health complications later in life, including when they're kids. So I asked yesterday, inspired by that conversation, which is more of a serious lifelong problem for obese children? Is it anti-fat bias and stigmatization, points that my guest was making, or is it weight gain and corresponding health complications? 77% of 19,027 said it's weight gain and corresponding health complications, but a roughly 80-20 vote on that issue. Link today at Smerconish.com about the Boeing 747. The last one has rolled off the assembly line in the great state of Washington. In fact, here's a photograph of the 747 from today's Times. The last Boeing 747 gets its wings. Really interesting, with a really strong safety record and a couple of notable exceptions, but, one kind of inexplicable maybe, and others due to terrorism or the Soviet Union. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the KAL flight from 1983. This is probably not fair to Boeing and not fair to the legacy of the 747, that when you mention the 747, I think of disasters, when in fact, the safety record was quite solid.
Yeah.
Quite solid.
I hear you.
But the Soviets, today we would say Russians, but the Soviets then in 1983, shooting out of the sky, KAL flight 007, or how about TWA flight 800? Inexplicably off Long Island. I say inexplicably. And of course, there was Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie. In that case, it was the Libyans. TC, three great. Can we do them quickly?
Yes.
Three
please.
Great entertainment stories at Smerconish.com today to kind of lighten the load. I have seen the commercials for this, and it looks really funny. Tom Brady walks the 80 for Brady red carpet in Los Angeles last night. Who is in this? You've got Lily Tomlin.
Evidently,
Jane
he
Fonda,
did well. They praised him.
Sally Field and Rita Moreno.
And the picture of the four women with Tom Brady, who literally is twice their height, is, I believe, just iconic. I love that picture. And of course, those women literally are iconic. But it sounds like it was great and that Tom Brady really held his own. And I don't know, it sounds funny.
There's not a day that passes without a new photograph of Giselle.
Oh, well, she's a model.
I know she's a model, but is she like really upping her game now?
She has to work now. Just kidding.
Like Brady's there with the elder women of entertainment, and she's in a bikini.
Well, she's in Brazil, isn't she? That's
I don't know.
She's from.
I can tell you what the outfit looked like. The location, not so much. I
think you're trying to make a point where there isn't one. She's being herself.
That's my job.
Okay. Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Let me rein you in.
Dr. Phil.
Oh yeah.
To end after 21 seasons. No more Dr. Phil. In my remarks in Arizona on Sunday night, when I talk about Charles Murray's book Coming Apart, I get to a quiz that Murray crafted to try and wake people up, particularly upper class whites. He focuses only on the division among working class whites and upper class whites. That's why I'm putting it in these terms. And it's a quiz designed to enlighten people as to how much of a bubble they now live in.
It is very good at what it does.
Right. Like, have you worn a uniform since high school?
Have you walked a factory floor?
Have you ever held a job that causes something to hurt at the end of the day?
Did you take a shower before work or after work?
Oh, you remember the whole quiz.
I was very, very struck by it.
Me too. And the higher your score, if you can say like yes, yes, and yes, then the less your bubble. So it's a good thing, he says.
Right.
Well, one of the questions in the quiz is, have you ever watched an episode of Dr. Phil all the way through?
Right.
What's your answer to that? No,
I haven't. I haven't. Right.
I haven't either.
Right.
And then there's also this from Puck. Will Gayle King bite on CNN? Chris Licht, who is now the president of CNN, I guess the title properly is chairman and CEO, Chris Licht, reportedly has made overtures to CBS's Gayle King for a weekly interview show so she wouldn't give up her day job, in the CBS Morning, where, by the way, he was the producer.
She can do. Weren't we just talking
She can
about
do both.
Weren't we just talking about non-complete clauses?
Right.
How on earth is CBS going to allow her to do that?
Okay. Well, how on earth? It's a great question that you ask.
Oh,
excellent question.
Hey, how about that?
But
why so surprised?
Okay, why does 60 Minutes why does CNN allow Anderson Cooper to be on 60 Minutes?
I've always wondered.
Because it's good for everybody.
Okay.
Right? I mean, if he's not, Anderson Cooper's gig is to be on in prime time evening for CNN, and he is. I believe putting him on a Sunday night on 60 Minutes enhances his standing.
Okay.
And similarly, if Gayle King is on at night in an interview format, it doesn't detract from her morning show.
How can she do a night show
enhances
and a morning
show? It'd be taped. It's an interview show, like Chris Wallace's show.
Yeah. What time on CNN?
No, but who knows?
Yeah, but they can't do an interview show at 9 o'clock on CNN. They can't. They have to do a news show.
I think the plan, TC, is that if she were willing, you want to get her in and get her on the team. And now she's a part of the team, and she's good.
I'm fascinated by
good
that.
for the brand. One last thing. To lighten your day today, a great story, the origin of common sayings and idioms.
I love this.
Pick one out that you like.
I like can't hold a candle to.
And where does can't hold a candle to come from?
So obviously the modern meaning is cannot compare to. Like you cannot, I mean, come on, she can't hold a candle to you.
Right.
Historical context. During the 1600s, when an apprentice was working under a master to learn their craft, sometimes the only task they were given was to hold the candle and provide light while the master worked on the project. If an apprentice couldn't even hold the candle, they were considered worthless. Can't hold a candle to.
They're all great.
I love this. Sounds like a TC After Dark. I love these.
Yeah, this would be perfect
I would
for
do
you.
this.
Spill the beans.
Love that one.
Pull out all stops. Caught red-handed. Running amok. Cat got your tongue. Die hard. All of these are explained very well in a great link that we have today. So fun stuff, serious stuff. Go vote at Smerconish.com on the traffic stop poll question of the day. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. See you tomorrow.